Hello. So, anyway, this is going to be the third and last video in this series on comparisons of kings. So this time I'm going to do a comparison between Saul and Solomon. So I think this might be one of the more interesting ones because both of them are very, interesting, complex characters, especially Solomon. There's so much to say about Solomon. I think I made an entire Bible study series on this channel about Solomon. If you want, check out those videos. But yes, there's a lot to say about Solomon. I think there's especially a lot of comparisons we can make between us, modern, day American Christians, or Christians all over the world, and Solomon. We have a lot in common, unfortunately. Um, so Solomon, so here's the so the passage I'm gonna read is from 2 Samuel. So 2 Samuel chapter 7 verses 12 through 16. Then I'll discuss it. So 2 Samuel 7:12. And when thy days be fulfilled, and thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, I will set up thy seed after thee, which shall proceed out of thy bowels, and I will establish his kingdom. He shall build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. I will be his father, and he shall be my son. If he commit iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men, and with the stripes of the children of men. But my mercy shall not depart from him, as I took it from Saul, whom I put away before thee. And thine house and thy kingdom shall be established forever before thee. Thy throne shall be established forever. So, basically, based on the context, we can assume God is talking to David, and he's giving him a prophecy of the future. And he's saying, yeah, your son Solomon, he's going to be blessed, and everything's going to turn out great. And he said, and he actually he already knows the future because I didn't really think about this, but he says, if he commit iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men and with the stripes of the children of men. But my mercy shall not depart from him, as I took it from Saul. So he already knows. It's almost like God already. I mean, obviously God already knows, but it's interesting. I just noticed this, that God's saying, he's almost implying, I know he's gonna mess up. He's actually implying that Solomon's gonna mess up. This is the prophecy that I just realized was written in there. So that's the thing about the Bible. You just read stuff and just like you could have read it 20 times and you'll still see something new. So right there, it does seem like he's actually implying that he knows Solomon is going to mess up. And it says, I will chasten him. And that's exactly what happens. Solomon messes up. He has a good start. And then, he starts worshiping idols and gets all this stuff because he has a problem. It's basically one time there was a court case many years ago where it was one of the dumbest things ever. This one kid who is really rich did some really stupid stuff, and the judge was going to let him off the hook. And the reason was he called it affluenza. Affluenza. That's literally what he called it. It was this kid is from a rich family, so he doesn't know any better. He's been spoiled. So we should give him a break because he's been spoiled. So he doesn't really know better. We should go a light on him. So it's literally one of the dumbest reasonings ever. But this was an actual decision by some judge. So this thing affluenza, that's basically Solomon's problem, affluenza. He grew up rich, he had everything he wanted, and he got spoiled. And that's the same problem we have. Solomon, you can make so many comparisons between Americans or people in first world countries and Solomon. And especially Christians. Why are Christians so weak? Yeah, because we live in we're living in a rich country. Of course, this is what happens. You're gonna get spoiled. You're gonna get tempted by wealth. You're going to get distracted, especially recently. Just in the last 20 years, we've had so many more distractions than we did in the 20 years before that. And the 20 years before that, you had even less distractions. So it just, the technology just keeps, hijacking your brain, basically. So Solomon didn't have all of that, but he was the king, and he lived in a very peaceful time. He wasn't like David. David was a hard man. David fought, and he was a warrior. Solomon didn't have any of that. He was just chilling basically the whole time for 40 years. So he was more like a scholar, Ecclesiastes, Proverbs, scholar. Yeah, he was really wise at first, but as you can see later in his life, he wasn't even following his own advice. He gave a lot of really good advice, and he ended up not following it. So So that's Solomon. Solomon was given a lot of mercy. Solomon is basically a type of the backslidden Christian. I mean, he wasn't a Christian, in the doctrinal sense, but it's very similar into where you have a Christian who gets saved and then it starts off great and then just leaves church, doesn't do anything for God. Still saved, still a Christian, but just they're not really going to get rewarded in heaven, or they lost a lot of time, that they didn't redeem the time, that they wasted time that they could have spent serving the Lord. Um, so so basically, it's like, it's like us, we're promised salvation, but the rewards, that's based on what you're actually doing. What are you actually doing for the Lord? Um, Now, so Solomon was blessed simply because of a promise, because of David, and sometimes you're blessed just because of other people. It's not because of your own actions. Uh, you're born in America, for example. If you are, I mean, I don't assume everybody listening to this is, from America, but I'm assuming a lot of my listeners probably are. That wasn't your decision. You're just born here. It was about a 4 or 5% chance that you would have been born in this country or are currently living in this country. You could have been born elsewhere. Maybe you would have been born in another first world country. Great. Maybe not. Maybe you'd be born in the middle, somewhere you don't really want to be born in, and you didn't have any choice. So sometimes you're just blessed. It has nothing to do with you. It literally has nothing to do with you. There's a lot of stuff that's out of your control. Solomon was blessed, and he didn't really, he got kind of arrogant. Like he didn't value what was, maybe at first he valued what was given to him, but eventually he stopped. He wasn't taking it as seriously. He took it for granted, basically. That's what I want to say. He took his blessings for granted. Now, as a comparison, what about Saul? Saul also reigned for 40 years. 40 years. Now, Saul, you can see from the very beginning, like he was already in his heart, he wasn't doing right. Like he didn't really want to serve the Lord. He was kind of weak, and from the beginning, God just wasn't really with him. Like, God was already saying like, hey, and he just got like, I'm not blessing you. And then later it just got worse. He just got worse and worse and worse. And God let him stay on the throne, even though he already decided a long time ago that David was going to be king. But it took a long time for David to get that throne. Saul just made a mess of everything. And he could have repented. He wasn't predestinated to go to hell. He wasn't predestinated not to be saved. Those were his own decisions. God knew what the final decision was, but those were Saul's decisions. He was not predestinated to make those decisions. So Saul, that's the difference here, is that Solomon, his actions weren't good. His heart was probably in the right place later in his years. Like he kind of wanted to, like he probably was not feeling right. If you're with the Lord and you're saved, then when you're not living right, it's going to bother you. And I know it was bothering Solomon. I don't think his conscience was completely seared. It was probably bothering him the way he was living. So it's more of a heart thing. God sees the heart. So his actions were definitely not showing, the struggle. There's internal struggle. With Saul, it's not clear what's happening. He could have just been doing whatever he wanted to do. And there was no struggle. There was no seeking the Lord for answers to prayer or anything like that. So that's the difference between Saul and Solomon. Is like, yeah, they're very similar situations. 40 years, both got to reign. Solomon is a type of like backslidden Christian. Christian not living right. Saul is just the type of like someone that wasn't even saved to begin with. That's the difference here. And on the surface, sometimes you can't tell the difference between the two. Sometimes those two categories of people, live almost identically, and you cannot differentiate the saved Christian that's backslidden and the lost person. Sometimes the lost person, like there's plenty of atheists, agnostics, lost people that are really nice people, and then you get this Christian that's just a jerk. Yeah, it's true. Happens all the time. But so that's why you can't judge. Christianity isn't all about niceness. That's not what it's about. It should be a part of it. The Holy Spirit's in you. That should change your behavior somewhat. But that's not the goal. The goal is you trust in Jesus Christ. You're saved. You're not going to hell anymore. That's the main thing. Everything else is just extra, you know, the working of the Holy Spirit within you to change you, all that. Like some people are saved and they don't even understand, they don't understand what they did or what the point was. The point is you're not going to hell. The point in modern Christianity, it seems like instead of being happy that you're not going to hell, it's using Jesus as some kind of like superpower, like you summon Jesus's power and it's some energy force you use throughout the day. That's literally modern Christianity. It's just using some power from Jesus, like some power you call upon. That's what they treat it on. It's like they completely ignore the fact that hey, like this is God, and He saved you from hell. That's the main thing, and it's like they just completely forget about that. So stuck on the physical world and not looking at eternity. You know, just we're stuck in the world, but we need to look at eternity. So anyway, basically that's just what I wanted to say. I went off a little off topic there a bit, but yeah. So I'll see you next time. I got a ton of more videos coming up. I'll try to keep them shorter. So yeah, I'll see you next time.